In this lecture, I'll be discussing with you micro-sociological perspective. When we talk about the micro perspective of sociology, what I mean is the kind of structure that we're talking about. What is studied under micro and what is studied under macro that we are going to discuss. So we know that in the beginning of the revolutions which happened, the French Revolution, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, we know that there were a lot of rapid and big changes, drastic changes that were taking place in the society, and the sociological thinkers then emerged after the birth of the subject of sociology, and they studied society as a whole, because the changes were happening on a big level, on a very bigger level, and the society was going through change. What happened in the later 19th and the early 20th century, the questions they shifted. They shifted from the perspective of society to the perspective of individuals. And now the question was, how is an individual created, or how is the self created? This is when the micro realm of society was beginning to emerge, and human interaction with the society was to be studied. Small group interactions were also supposed to be studied. So all of this was supposed to be studied to understand how the individual works, how the self works, and how is it created. So unlike the previous theories, like the one by the classical thinkers which were developed in Europe, this theory particularly, it emerged in United States of America. So when I say the micro realm, what I mean is there is a limited reference group, it is a small group, and the main focus is on the study of interaction among the individuals or in a group. So the big question that emerged was, how does one learn to become social? Now the key word here is social. We all are born in the same manner, but we are raised differently. For example, if you take the case of the jungle boy Mowgli, he was brought up by wild animals. So even after being a human baby, he was raised by wild animals, and therefore he was very different from some other human babies. That is how we become social. We become social by the process of socialization. It is not only by the virtue of our birth that how we are born, it is not confined to that. It also is dependent on the kind of interaction we have. Interaction with the agents of socialization. For example, our parents tell us, they give us a name, they tell us if you are a boy or a girl, they tell you what kind of a person you are, they tell you what your name is, they tell you many different things, and that is how you start becoming social. Coming to the next point, the relationship between micro and macro. So it is very important to remember that the micro and macro perspective, they are not polar opposites of each other. The macro has an effect on micro. So when we are studying the society as a whole, we are also studying the individuals and the groups in the society. Therefore, in every theory which is related to the micro perspective, the macro perspective will also have some effect. Now coming to the emergence of self. Now we have to understand, how does the self emerge? Now one condition that we know about, one thing we know about is socialization. The process of socialization, it helps in the development of self. But there is also the role of interaction. Now this interaction can be in the form of various things like communication, language, gestures, conversation, symbols, drama, habit, knowledge, and routine. What happens is that we know communication is not just one person talking and the other person listening, or two people just talking among themselves. There are various kinds of it. There are various forms of it. Now, it can be gestures when you're not saying something, but even when we are little kids, we know that when our parent is angry, they do not need to say it out loud. We can understand by their expression, we can understand by their gestures, we can understand it by some symbols. So, this is how the interaction takes place, and with this interaction, the self is formed. The important point here to notice is the emphasis on routine and knowledge. So, what is this knowledge? This knowledge is nothing but the sum of experiences. We understand the gestures and their meanings, what a gesture carries with itself, the meaning that it carries. We understand it because we have experienced it. And with that virtue of experience, we possess this knowledge which helps us in living a shared reality of every day. For example, when you go outside and you know that there's a perhaps beggar coming towards you and you're in the car, so you already know that beggar is going to perhaps knock on your car window or is going to say something, and you already know that something is going to happen. You may also know what exactly they are going to say. This is because you have already experienced it. That means the gestures, the symbols, these interaction patterns, they have meanings associated with them. And these meanings are socially learned. We have learned them once we went outside. You cannot sit at home and understand what that beggar is going to do when you stop your car. You experience it, and that is learned socially. Coming to another important perspective, that is micro-theories. Now, on the basis of unit of analysis, unit, by unit I mean whether we are studying society as a whole on a very grand level, or are we studying human interactions. On the basis of this unit of analysis, we have got two kinds of theories, that is the micro-theories, which are also known as molecular theories, and the macro-theories, which are known as molar theories. The micro-theories, it studies the interaction among individuals in the society. For example, Weber's theory of social action, which has talked about social action which has a meaning, which has some intended meaning and some conscious and deliberate action. So this is something that talks about something on a micro level. That is why this is a micro theory. On the other hand, if you talk about Durkheimian theories, it is an example of macro theory, which talks about, for example, suicide. So he has studied suicide on a very large level. It studies culture, institutions, society, etc. The key differences in micro and macro theories are: micro theories are narrow in terms of scope and reference, macro theories have broader scope. Micro theories have limited range of phenomena. They are also known as molecular theories, and they focus on the study of subsystems and social rules. Whereas macro theories, which are also known as molar theories, they focus on social structure and study of society as a whole. Now let us just quickly do some questions to further enhance our understanding on micro and macro sociological perspective. Question number 1. Which of these fall under the category of micro-sociological theory? So if you look at option number 1, it is symbolic interactionism, ethnomethodology, dramaturgy, and exchange theories. All of these theories, now just check the unit of analysis. These theories talk about small groups and individuals. That is why option 1 is right. On the other hand, if you talk about social facts, mechanical solidarity, these theories talk about grand level and they study bigger levels and bigger units, therefore they are not micro-sociological theories. Question number 2. Which theory is best suitable to explain social roles and individual behavior in society? Again, please look at the unit of analysis, individual behavior and social roles which are played by individuals only. So the answer will be micro theory, because again macro theory would talk about something on a bigger level. So I hope you got the lecture. Thank you very much.